G'day and welcome to another episode of The Boardroom. Today in the boardroom for a coaching conversation is Ed Fenny, Managing Director of Ocean Park. We're up in beautiful Shark Bay, cracking another day in paradise, mate. Welcome to the boardroom. Thanks for coming on with me, mate. Well, you're up in this beautiful piece of the world, mate. Tell everyone what is it that you do up here at Ocean Park, mate? What are all the activities that they can come and do with you?
Well, I guess our core is the aquarium. So we run a public aquarium similar to Aquarium Perth, I guess, in a way that we display a stack of really interesting local marine life and anyone can come and have a look at. But most importantly, big point of difference is that we run guided tours with either marine scientists or training marine scientists. So that's our little point of difference is that it's not just a one around by yourself. You get about an hour long marine science and conservation lecture with someone who knows what they're talking about. And for us, that's what people really take away from this experience is that they actually it's aimed at being a really educational experience rather than just a bit of a circus look and see.
Good crew, and you also do some other stuff not on this site, but we've obviously we're out on the deck here. It's Ocean's Restaurant, so you've got a food and beverage facility with great food. So you get a good feed and a great cup of coffee, best coffee in town, which is really, really important.
Not hard as well.
It's not hard, but it is hard, mate, especially in a remote location. But you guys do it great here, mate. But you do a couple of other things around that are not here on site. You do some other tours. What are they, mate?
Yeah, so we've got 3 commercial vessels. So we run scuba diving and snorkeling tours out to Dirkhartog Island and Steep Point, which is about 30 k's away from us as the crow flies. And we also run a boat out of Monkey Mire too. So that does Pearl Farm and Cape Perrin tours out that side. We've also got 4 drives, so we do 4 drive tours up to the Frontside Prawn National Park, which is a beautiful day, and then out to Steep Point as well. So we go out to the westernmost part of mainland Australia. So yeah, I guess they're all nice little add-ons to what we already have here at the aquarium, and they're very well received, which is good.
So pretty much got everyone covered, all bases covered, ocean, land. It's pretty awesome, and got a great crew of young crew up here, mate. That look after your customers.
That's the key.
Yeah, awesome, mate. I suppose I'm interested in finding out a little bit more about what got you into How'd you get into Ocean Park, mate? Like, what got you started? How did you come across it, and what was your motivator?
Well, I had no interest in running an aquarium when I was at university, but
I'm a
marine biologist. That's the big one. So as a kid, I grew up on the coast in Western Australia, so I always had such a great appreciation for and love of the marine world. And when I finished year 12, I thought I was kind of looking at what I'd like to study, and I thought I'd love to study marine science. So I thought I'd go down that path. So I studied at university for 3 years, and then same thing at the end of university. I still didn't know what I really wanted, where I wanted to go with it, but I knew I didn't want to be in the city. So I'd studied for 4.5 years or so in the city. I knew I wanted to get out of the city again, and Ocean Park used to be a fish farm. So I majored in marine biology, but minored in aquaculture. So fish farming was essentially part of my degree, and there was a job going in Shark Bay as an aquarist aquarium technician, hatchery technician. So I thought that sounds like a bit of fun.
Yeah, awesome.
We'll give it 6 months.
And the hatchery that was here, that was to replenish the pink snappers.
Originally it was for farming pink snapper to replenish the bay because 100 years of fishing and the pink snapper population had almost collapsed in Shark Bay.
Right.
So we got a grant from the West Australian government to restock the bay. The idea, though, was that would help to pay for infrastructure to start a commercial hatchery. So then we'd hatch pink snapper out to sell to a grow-out facility to farm pink snapper.
And that was, what was that, 20-odd?
Yeah, so that was, the Ocean Park started July 2000.
2000,
I went up here 2003 for the first time. So it had been operating as a pink snap hatchery for about 2.5, 3 years when I first got up here when I finished university, and then look, the interesting part is that the aquaculture side of it, we could farm the fish, but apart from the original grants from the West Australian government, trying to compete with the commercial fishermen to farming pink snapper on shore was just not viable, not even close.
Right.
So the commercial guys go out here, bit of diesel, bit of labour, and they can take a ton of pink snapper a night.
Yeah.
Takes us 6 months to grow 5 tonne. And
right.
The cost, obviously, we're non-competitive. It costs us about $15 a kilo to produce the fish. So unfortunately, that was not competitive.
Yep.
So we started as literally as an afterthought with, okay, we've got to try to make a crust. So we started.
Can't rely on the government all your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we started charging a gold coin donation for people to come in and watch us farm the pink snapper.
Right.
So that's where we thought, okay, we can hopefully make a little bit of money. There is a, I wouldn't say it's a well-established tourism industry, but there is at that point there was a modicum of interest in tourism in Shark Bay.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd jump on that, and cut a long story short, the aquaculture side of things just slowly started to wane, and the tourism side of things just went from strength to strength.
You just developed it over the last sort of 20 odd years.
Well, then essentially we instead of just showing people pink snapper, we started showing them sea snakes and sharks, and we just kind of transitioned.
And do you curate those yourself?
Yeah, so we do it. And look, you'll see when you're here, a lot of the displays we still use are aquaculture tubs. So what we used to farm pink snapper in are now holding sea snake or a moray eel or something like that. And we noticed that there was a huge amount of interest in seeing marine life and learning about marine life. And that came from the aquaculture side of it.
Yeah,
because people were fascinated in the science of us farming fish.
Right.
And that really struck a chord with our customers. So we thought we'd just try to run with that idea, and we've kind of now morphed into a bona fide public aquarium.
Unreal.
Facility, which has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And what drives that passion to educate and conserve, mate? Because that's a big part of it. It's educating people about the local fish and animal and flora and fauna stocks, and but you're also about conservation. What drives that, mate?
Well, I think it just comes from from my point of view anyway, and I try to recruit staff that are of the same mind as well. But just from a passion for the marine environment. Again, I've been fascinated by the marine environment my whole life. Absolutely love getting in on around the water, and when I started working at Ocean Park, it was actually really interesting because I thought I was just showing people fish. I thought that was my job. And I enjoyed doing it. Feeding some pink snapper and showing some people some cool stuff. But all of a sudden found, and it was literally almost a light bulb moment when I had my old boss, Ken Gordon, who was the original proprietor of Ocean Park. He just stopped me one day and said, "Mate, you've got a really good knack of making what you're doing here very educational and really
accessible.
Accessible, and I can't remember his exact words. Relatable.
Relatable.
So and he goes, and if it's in an informal, entertaining manner. So he goes, I get people walking out and just being like, that was the best hour I've ever spent in an aquarium in the world.
Yeah, right.
And it's not because of the displays. It's definitely not because of the displays, but I think part of it is just it comes from the person who's conducting the tour, whether it be me. Originally, it was obviously always me doing the tours, but now my staff, that people that come to Ocean Park can see and feel that passion come through for the marine environment. And it's not just showing people an animal, it's then saying, look, there's a cool animal, but this is its relevance in the ecosystem, and this is why we've got to protect the ecosystem, so we can maintain that balance as well.
Yeah, beautiful.
So, that's essentially where it's come from, and it's gone from strength to strength, and that's something that it's a non-negotiable for me as well at Ocean Park. I don't ever want to lose that guided tour aspect of it, because I feel like that's the bit that people really hold on to and love, and essentially happened by accident. I love the marine environment, but just had my old boss say, look, you've got a good style of making things really, really educational, but making it relatable and informal. So just keep doing that, and we just built a tour and an hour-long conservation lecture around that.
Yeah, awesome. And that flows into all the other tours that you do as well. It's not just in the aquarium, but if you go on one of the tours with the crew, you'll get an amazing experience. They're constantly, you never know what you're going to see, and when you do see it, they're really good at sort of explaining and answering questions, and it's a big part of it, and it's what makes it so fascinating and so engaging for your customers. I've been on a couple of tours and it's been awesome. Mate, you're up here in remote Western Australia. What are some of the challenges you've faced in the business over the time? Putting COVID aside, because that's been a challenge for everyone. We seem to have come out the other side of that. But what are some of the challenges you face, and how have you addressed them?
The first one is just tourism in general is quite a fickle industry.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely been some challenges with tourism, and you just have to with the challenge of tourism. I've found it really important to be dynamic and be proactive.
Yep.
Because the market changes so quickly. And again, COVID aside, if we even go back when I first started here, the Australian dollar was, 40, buying 40 euro cents. It was very weak.
Yeah.
So the market, the European market was enormous.
Yeah.
Huge backpacker market, and we were kind of really kind of aiming at keeping prices low and getting big numbers.
Yep.
And then post GFC, we saw the Australian dollar reach parity and then exceed US dollar. Jumped up to 60, 70 euro cents, and all of a sudden Australia wasn't an attractive destination for Europeans anymore.
Yep.
And so if we had stuck with, low cost and try and go high volume, we just wouldn't have been viable.
Yep.
So we had to literally change what we did and improve our service, raise our prices, and market more to West Australians.
What's your mix between sort of West Australian, intrastate, interstate, and international?
Yeah, so West Aussies are easily our biggest part of biggest market. So it varies between kind of 65 and 75%. Again, COVID aside. Interstates maybe 10 to 15%, and the internationals make up the rest. So mostly West Aussies. You probably got somewhere between 10 and 15 interstate and 10 to 15 internationals, depending on the year.
Yep.
About that, but I guess so. That was one. That's a constant challenge.
Yep.
With tourism again, because the market changes so quickly.
Is that because people sort of looking for something new and fresh all the time?
I think there's a lot of global factors that I mean, COVID's a great example where, businesses that were reliant on the international market during COVID, tourism businesses, like you pretty much closed the doors, right?
Yeah.
We were we weren't as reliant on the international market, but still had a situation where there's no internationals coming anymore.
Yeah.
So what do we have to do to make this attractive to West Australians? And you got to be quick.
Yeah.
These things happen.
Yeah, they happen quickly.
So it's really important to be proactive. I've learned that from the very, very beginning. And with everything we do, we try and be dynamic, try and be proactive. Probably one of the biggest challenges though is staffing.
Yeah. You do a pretty good job, given you're in the. I know that you have your challenges, and I wanted to talk to you about that. But you're in the middle of nowhere. People in Perth struggle to get people, but you've got a pretty solid team, and you don't seem to find it massively difficult. I mean, you do have some challenges.
Yeah, we've got a great industry.
Yeah.
I think that in general, the marine industry is quite attractive, particularly for new grads and people that want to dip their toe in the industry.
Yeah.
The key though that I've found is firstly recruiting the right people, because not everyone wants to live in remote Western Australia, and I've found people that on paper look fantastic.
Yeah.
They get up here and they're like, "Where's the nightclub?"
Yeah.
How do you do this? You got no.
Yeah.
There's not many people.
Yeah.
There's 600 people living in Shark Bay.
Yeah.
2 old pubs.
Yeah.
So honestly, for me now, I just try to recruit people on their CV that like fishing and camping.
Yeah. Right.
Like the outdoors, because if you like the outdoors, Shark Bay is Mecca. It's such an adventurous playground.
Yeah.
So
it's back to basic stuff here.
It is. Yeah. And look, luckily, there's a lot of people that love that.
Love that.
So if you like diving, you like kite surfing, fishing, camping, four-wheel driving, this is a great spot to be.
Yeah,
so
awesome. Our
recruitment is kind of based around that. And then another one, just lately we've just been trying to offer the full-timers upskilling and a bit of a training pathway essentially. So getting a lot of new grads in, so marine science graduates that have come out of uni, 3-year bachelor, no experience in the field whatsoever,
right?
And it's all about contacts in this field. So say, look, we'll give us 2 years, and you walk away with 2 years of experience, a good reference, hopefully. And a coxswain ticket and a dive master ticket.
Yeah, right.
So it gives people a bit of a pathway, so they know that while they're here, it's a lot of fun. They get to work with a really fun, dynamic team, and also they're upskilling and getting into the industry. So that's made a huge difference for our staff retention, and obviously staff retention and good job satisfaction leads to better profit.
Perfect. You talk about having a great team, mate. How have you built that? Because we did a little bit of work. I came up. Well, when was it? Early this year, I think it was.
Late last year.
Yeah, late last year we came up and we did the culture workshop up here, and it was very much. There was no surprises. It was great to get it out on paper, but everyone was just so glowing of working at Ocean Park, working within that team, and working with and for you, mate. So how have you gone about developing that?
Yeah, again, I think big one is choosing the right people. Getting the right fit. And even though before I started working to you, I probably wasn't that clear around mission and values. But I kind of had a kind of innate understanding of what I stood for, and try to recruit people that have that same value alignment. I mean, now I've worked with you, I understand what that means.
We can clearly communicate it rather than letting them figure it out.
But that's definitely the first one. I think, I don't know, I hope some of it's due to my leadership style.
Your key value was, and it sat above everything else, was all about trust, wasn't it?
And then that's obviously that when I say trust, when I use that, it's, that's I try to use that as much of a two-way street as possible, right? So I try to put as much trust into my employees, and hopefully I get that same trust back. So the case of giving them an appropriate amount of autonomy, not looking over the shoulder, trying not to micromanage. I don't know. I feel like the trust thing, it runs really deep for me, because if they feel trusted, everything else flows from there. The respect flows from there. The good work ethic flows from there. So that's definitely a big one. Again, always. Well, like with any businesses, there's challenges there, and sometimes you get burnt, sometimes you get bitten, but that's business.
It's an inexact science, recruiting the right people. You think you've got great people on paper, and it doesn't quite work out that way. And then things change in people's lives as well. You have great people in the business, and circumstances change, and they need to move on, and you're sort of like, what could I have done differently? And often it's not about you, it's about them and what they need to do. So, because it certainly struck me that, and I think it's real, how great and aligned everyone was. There were no real surprises, but it's really important that people are really clear of what your expectations around their behaviour and what you expect of them in terms of how they do their work, because you're not just here and being able to manage and then be in contact with you all the time. You've got, crews going out on boats out to Steep Point, and you've got another crew, doing work out at Dirk Island, and then out at Monkey Mire, and you've also got the little coffee shop at the booking centre as well. So you've got very separate locations, and without that clarity, people sort of drift away, and having that and knowing what's clearly expected of them, they can sort of, it doesn't require you to regulate and moderate their behaviour. They can do that for themselves.
A lot less anyway. Then it comes down to a couple of open conversations, and that's all it really takes. They understand what's expected of them, and what I expect, and more what we're aiming to stand for as an organisation, and what we're aiming to achieve. And if that's clear, there's clarity around that, then that's a lot.
Makes life easier.
A lot of the hard work taken out of the equation.
Yeah, cool. All right, mate. So that's I think you're not on your pat alone with that. Every business struggles with building a team, but when you do have an aligned team, and you've got that harmony, and you've got that common, your mission, your what you stand for, what you're trying to deliver to your customers, it makes it so much easier for people to get on board, and it makes it easier, as you said, to have that conversation with them to say, hey, you know, this, I saw this happening, or I've seen this. How about we bring it back to where we need to be?
Non-supporting behaviour.
Yeah, non-supporting behaviour, as we call it at Acuity. Love it. I love it when I hear my clients repeat stuff that we coach them on. So yeah, awesome, mate. Awesome, mate. Are there any key learnings or key relationships, or something that perhaps you look back on and go, wow, that was a defining moment for me, and that might have been in the last 5 years, that might have been at the start, is there anything that sort of comes to mind that you sort of go, wow, that happened and that really stuck with me? Obviously, Ken telling you that you've got a really good way with people to be relatable and engaging is one, but
I think that was it. That was it in a sense. I went from thinking, well, I'm showing people fish,
yep,
to realising, and it was just like literally like that was a light bulb moment. I'm showing people fish. No, I'm not. I'm actually educating people about conservation.
Right.
So here I was thinking, again, my job is to feed a shark and feed a fish and tell people what it was, and yeah. It was through that, and I guess it was probably that day around that time where I kind of realised, oh, hang on a minute, I'm looking at this the wrong way.
Yeah,
I'm thinking I'm supposed to be this entertainer that's showing people something cool. I'm like, no, I'm not an entertainer. I'm an educator.
Yeah,
and that was the defining point for me, because now that drives everything we do.
That changed all your decisions through the business. Yeah,
everything, and it completely changed. I mean, I wouldn't say it completely changed our product, because we were inadvertently doing it.
Yeah.
But now that changes how we market our product.
Yep.
It changes how we recruit. It changes absolutely everything, because now we are in the role of educating. That's our education and conservation. That's what we do. It's not circus. It's not performance.
Yep.
It's education and conservation.
Yep.
But it has to be done in an entertaining and informal enough way so people can actually take it on board.
You got quite a spread of guests with obviously different nationalities, but also age groups, young kids through to the grey nomads that come through, and
that's I think when I'm training the staff around good tour guiding and good delivery, it's like you have to be dynamic, because what you tell someone who's just come out of university, or a professor that may be visiting Ocean Park, is different to what you tell a 4-year-old.
Yep.
So you have to be dynamic, and you have to try to make what you're telling them relatable.
Yep.
And it's different for each group, group of people that come to Ocean Park. The tour has to change. The approach has to change, and that makes it interesting too, because then it's not like an air hostess speech, and that's another key.
Yeah.
It's not, here's the script, read it.
Yep.
It's like, use your experience.
Yep.
Make it relatable.
Yeah.
Make it lasting, so people walk out of here and say, Jesus, that was fascinating. And like, if you look at our comments in the book and on TripAdvisor, it's all about the guide.
Yes.
Which is awesome. It's all about the individual, and what their unique circumstances that have led them to form their interesting opinions and views on conservation or marine life. That's them, and that's what people love.
That's that authenticity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm not just I've not just been trained to read off a script, but I know my stuff. I might not be a world-renowned professor, but I know my stuff. I'm actually engaging in this. I value this myself, and I want to share this with you, because I think it's really important and really wonderful and wondrous. Yeah.
Because, and that's a difficult one to train, but interested is interesting.
Yeah.
So that's a big point when we're training our staff. Is if you're interested, other people are interested in you. So trying to teach them that, if they can use personal experience, then obviously that gives them that's something that they've had a really cool experience with, then relaying that to someone else gets them interested too, and it engages more. So it also is, if you're interested in what you're doing, there's that constant
willingness. You know, if you're going to educate people, you've got to remain educated and up to date and engaged with what you're doing. Because otherwise, like you said, you need to be dynamic.
Yep.
So they need to be dynamic,
yep.
and their experiences need to be dynamic. So, yeah, it's awesome.
But then obviously that all comes down to recruitment too, because
yep.
you've got to be recruiting the right people
yeah.
that have that passion and that
yep.
interest. Because if they don't, it's really hard to teach passion.
Well, you can't.
No,
I think the reality is. At some point it comes through. There might be an excitement with a new job and people are excited, but if it's not really there, then when things get a little bit flat and a little bit boring and a little bit difficult, that's when it becomes obvious of, you know, who really cares about what they're doing,
exactly.
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome, mate. And look, as I said, I've had numerous experience with the team, and I was listening to Em and Stace. They were talking about their trip. They were doing dive trip up to the Cocos and Christmas
Islands, yeah.
and Em's going up to Malaysia and Thailand to do some more diving. So again, it's that constantly being immersed in the ocean and conservation and seeing, and then bringing all that back.
But then also the Stacey and them doing IDC too, so they're furthering their education too,
yep.
and that's something that I really, it's a key value is education, and that's not just giving it, but it's for the guides to be, and for our employees to be continuing their education, which is key. And that's actually something, like, to your credit, that I've really taken out of our time together over the last almost two years,
I think.
Is getting clear around our values and having that driving everything what we're doing, decisions we're making, right through to recruitment. I think that was a light bulb moment for me when we went through our values and mission statement, and you said, Ed, you need to be using this to drive your recruitment, and that was, for me, that was a real eye opener. I thought, okay, I think I've innately been doing it to a degree, but it just made so much sense, and it's made a huge amount of difference to the culture of this place. So appreciate that.
No, been awesome working with you guys. I come up here. We do most of our stuff on Zoom, or if you're in Perth, but I come up 2 or 3 times a year. It's a 9-hour drive, but it's I love coming up. You know, it's just a magical place. I love the ocean as well, and the crew always make me feel really welcome and part of the team as well. So, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you. If you're coming up to if you're coming to WA, make sure you head north, come to Shark Bay, stop in. I know a lot of people drive past to Exmouth and Coral Bay, but you're doing yourself a real disservice. Take the Shark Bay Road in, come to Denham, come and see the crew at Ocean Park, jump onto the Aquarium tour and stay for a couple of days, and they'll show you a part of West Australia that's truly wondrous and amazing, and there's no better crew to show you around the place. So, mate, thanks for coming in the boardroom, having a coaching conversation with us, mate.
Thank you.
To the viewers, that's it for the boardroom. My contact details are coming up on the screen. If there's anything that we've spoken about, any topics that Ed's raised that you think, gee, I'd love some help with that, love to have a chat to you. My contact details are mobile, email. You can get me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. That's it for me. I'm going to go and have a nice cup of coffee with Ed and some breakfast, and I'll see you again in the next episode of the boardroom soon. Happy days.